The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. It was 3 times larger than any human vessel and gleamed like polished silver against the black of space. The ship's name was Harmony's Edge, and it belonged to the Galactic Safety Council. Captain Vex stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the blue and green planet below. He was an Altarian with pale blue skin and 3 golden eyes that could see things humans could never imagine. His tall, thin body moved gracefully in the low gravity of his ship. This was his 48th first contact mission, and he knew exactly what to expect. All teams prepare for standard Deathworld protocols, Captain Vex announced to his crew. His voice was calm and professional. Remember, these beings evolved on a Class 12 Deathworld. They will be primitive, scared, and completely unprepared for civilized space travel. Dr. Kess, the ship's chief safety officer, checked his equipment one more time. He was short and round, with green skin and 4 arms that moved independently. Each arm held a different piece of safety gear. Medical teams on standby, he reported. Protective suits ready. Sedatives prepared for anxiety management. The humans had been surprisingly easy to contact. Most Deathworld species hid from alien contact for months or even years. But when the Galactic Council sent their first message to Earth, the humans responded within hours. They seemed excited about meeting aliens. This worried Captain Vex. Excitement usually meant they did not understand the dangers. Incoming transmission from the human vessel, reported Communications Officer Zell. She had purple skin and 6 arms, each one operating a different control panel. Put them through, Captain Vex said. A human face appeared on the main screen. The creature had dark hair, brown eyes, and skin the color of light wood. He wore a simple blue uniform with no visible protection gear. This was Commander Roth of the human ship Terra's Hammer. Greetings, Commander Roth said with a smile. Welcome to our solar system. We're honored to meet you. Captain Vex blinked his 3 eyes in surprise. The human seemed completely calm. Most Deathworld species were terrified during first contact. They usually trembled, cried, or sometimes fainted when they saw aliens for the first time. Greetings, Commander Roth, Captain Vex replied carefully. We come in peace from the Galactic Safety Council. We understand you wish to learn about the galaxy beyond your world. Absolutely, Commander Roth said. We've prepared a small delegation to visit your ship. When would be convenient? Dr. Kess frantically checked his readings. Through the human ship's transmission, he could see the background environment. The temperature readings made his 4 arms shake with fear. The human ship was running at nearly 40 degrees Celsius. The atmospheric pressure would crush most civilized species in seconds. Yet the humans were walking around as if nothing was wrong. Commander, Dr. Kess whispered to Captain Vex, their ship's environmental conditions are lethal. How are they surviving? Captain Vex ignored his safety officer for now. Commander Roth, we must first conduct proper safety evaluations. Deathworld species require extensive preparation before boarding galactic vessels. We have protective suits, breathing apparatus, and medical support ready for your delegation. Commander Roth looked confused. Protective suits? For what? Your species evolved on a Deathworld, Captain Vex explained patiently. Our ship's normal environment could be dangerous for you. Standard gravity, atmospheric composition, temperature controls. These things take time to adjust to. Commander Roth laughed. It was a warm, friendly sound that made several alien crew members jump in surprise. Captain, we appreciate the concern, but we're pretty adaptable. Our mining crews work in much harsher conditions than a spaceship. Doctor. Kess checked his instruments again. According to his readings, the human ship's normal conditions would kill an Altarian in minutes. The radiation levels alone should have been fatal. Yet 3 humans were visible on the transmission, moving around without any protection at all. "Perhaps," Captain Vex said slowly, "we should start with a simple meeting, small steps." "Sounds good," Commander Roth agreed. "We'll bring a basic delegation. Just 3 of us. Engineer Tom, Pilot Lisa, and myself." "Excellent. We will prepare a special environmental chamber with Earth-like conditions for your comfort." "That's really not necessary," Commander Roth said. "But if it makes you feel better, sure." The transmission ended. Captain Vex turned to his crew. Dr. Kess was studying his readings with all 4 arms moving frantically across his instruments. "Sir," Dr. Kess said, his voice shaking, "I've never seen readings like this. Their ship is running hot enough to cook food. The atmospheric pressure would flatten most species. The radiation from their primitive fusion drive should have killed them all by now." "Perhaps your instruments are malfunctioning," Captain Vex suggested. "I've checked them 3 times, sir. The readings are accurate." Dr. Kess looked up with his large, worried eyes. "Captain, what if the stories about Deathworlds are true? What if these humans are actually adapted to conditions that would kill us?" Captain Vex had heard the stories, of course. Every spacefaring species had legends about the mythical Deathworlds, planets so hostile that any life evolving there would be virtually indestructible. But they were just stories. No real planet could be that dangerous. "Prepare the diplomatic bay," Captain Vex ordered. "Standard first contact protocols. And Dr. Kess, have your medical team ready. These humans may not understand their own limitations." An hour later, the human ship Terra's Hammer approached for docking. It was a crude vessel by galactic standards, obviously converted from some kind of industrial equipment. Thick metal plates covered its hull, and massive engines pushed it through space with simple chemical rockets. It looked more like a flying hammer than a diplomatic vessel. "Docking successful," reported Officer Zell. "The humans are requesting permission to board." "Granted," Captain Vex said. "All safety teams to positions." The airlock doors opened with a soft hiss. Captain Vex expected to see 3 terrified primitives stumbling in protective suits, probably supported by medical equipment. Instead, 3 humans walked aboard his ship as if they were taking a casual stroll. Commander Roth led the group. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with confident movements and alert eyes. Behind him came Engineer Tom, a stocky man with strong hands and a practical expression. Pilot Lisa brought up the rear. She was smaller than the others, but moved with the quick grace of someone used to handling dangerous machinery. All 3 humans wore simple uniforms, no protective gear, no breathing apparatus, no medical support equipment. They looked around the pristine corridors of the Harmony's edge with mild curiosity, like tourists visiting a museum. "Nice ship," Commander Roth said, running his hand along the smooth wall. "Very clean. How many crew do you carry?" Dr. Kess stood frozen, staring at his instruments. According to every sensor on the ship, these 3 beings should be dead. Their heart rates were calm. Their breathing was normal. Their body temperature suggested they were completely comfortable in conditions that most species would find perfectly normal. How? Dr. Kess whispered to himself. How is this possible? Dr. Kess began his standard safety speech the moment the humans stepped aboard. He spoke slowly and clearly, the way one might explain things to children. His 4 green arms moved gracefully as he pointed to different safety features around. "The ship, welcome aboard the Harmony's Edge," Dr. Kess said in his most professional voice. "Before we begin our tour, I must explain several important safety protocols. Our atmospheric composition is different from your home world. Our gravity systems operate at standard galactic levels. Our temperature controls maintain optimal conditions for most species." Commander Roth listened politely for about 30 seconds. Then he smiled and held up one hand. "Doc, we're fine. Actually, your climate control feels pretty comfortable. Our ship's been running a bit hot lately. Dr. Kess blinked his large eyes in confusion. But sir, you must understand the dangers. Different atmospheric pressure can cause serious medical problems. Gravity variations can affect your balance and coordination. Temperature differences can lead to shock or worse. Engineer Tom looked around the corridor with interest. This is nice, he said, touching the smooth metal walls. Much cooler than our engine room. What kind of alloy is this? Please do not touch the surfaces without proper gloves, Dr. Kess said quickly. The metal conducts heat and electrical current. Tom had already run his hands along several feet of wall. Feels fine to me, good craftsmanship, very smooth finish. Pilot. Lisa was examining a control panel near the airlock. She peered closely at the buttons and displays, her face only inches from the glowing screen. Interesting design, very user-friendly. Please step away from the controls, Dr. Kess said, his voice rising slightly. Those panels operate on high-voltage systems. The electromagnetic radiation could be harmful. Lisa looked at him with surprise. Harmful? It's just a control panel. Captain Vex watched this exchange with growing confusion. Every species he had encountered before took safety warnings very seriously. These humans seemed to think his ship was no more dangerous than their own living rooms. Perhaps we should begin the tour, Captain Vex suggested. Dr. Kess will explain each section as we go. They started with the residential quarters. Dr. Kess pointed out the emergency breathing masks, the temperature controls, and the communication systems. The humans nodded politely but seemed more interested in the construction details than the safety equipment. How thick are these walls? Engineer Tom asked, tapping the metal with his knuckles. Approximately 15 centimeters of reinforced titanium alloy, Captain Vex replied. Tom nodded approvingly. Good design. Should handle pretty much anything. They moved through the medical bay, where Dr. Kess proudly displayed the most advanced healing technology in the galaxy. The humans were impressed, but not in the way he expected. This is very sophisticated, Commander Roth said, examining a surgical robot. Much more advanced than our equipment. How does it handle trauma cases? Trauma cases? Dr. Kess asked. Well, we rarely see serious injuries aboard galactic vessels. Our safety protocols prevent most accidents. What about industrial accidents? Engineer Tom asked. Mining disasters? Chemical burns? Radiation exposure? Dr. Kess stared at him. Why would anyone experience such things aboard a starship? The humans exchanged glances. Just curious. Tom said that the tour continued to the engineering section. This was where Captain Vex felt most confident. The Harmony's Edge had some of the most advanced and safest technology in the galaxy. The engine room was a masterpiece of controlled power and multiple safety systems. Our fusion reactors operate at carefully controlled temperatures, Dr. Kess explained as they walked down a corridor lined with monitoring equipment. Multiple redundant safety systems prevent any possibility of dangerous conditions. What's the operating temperature? Pilot Lisa asked. Approximately 15 million degrees Celsius at the core, Captain Vex replied proudly. But completely contained, of course. Lisa whistled softly. That's impressive. How do you handle coolant distribution? They entered the main engine room. It was a cathedral of gleaming machinery, with massive fusion reactors humming quietly behind layers of protective shielding. Cooling systems moved quietly through the walls, maintaining perfect temperatures throughout the ship. Commander Roth walked to the main viewing window and looked at the reactor core. Brilliant light pulsed gently behind multiple layers of protection. Beautiful engineering, he said. Very clean design. Thank you, Captain Vex said, pleased by the compliment. That was when everything went wrong. A sharp crack echoed through the engine room. One of the main coolant lines, stressed by years of operation, finally gave way. The line split open like a broken pipe, spraying superheated coolant vapor across the chamber. Alarm sirens immediately filled the air. Red warning lights flashed. From every wall, the ship's computer announced in multiple languages, "Coolant breach in main engineering. All personnel evacuate immediately. Emergency teams to engineering section." Captain Vex hit the emergency controls. Blast doors slammed shut, sealing the engine room. Emergency ventilation systems activated, trying to clear the dangerous vapor. Through the observation window, the entire engine room disappeared behind a cloud of scalding steam. Emergency medical teams to engine room. Dr. Kess shouted into his communicator. His forearms moved frantically across his medical scanner. "Prepare trauma bay for multiple severe casualties. Chemical burns, toxic inhalation, possible heat stroke." Captain Vex stared through the window in horror. The three humans had been standing right next to the coolant line when it ruptured. They had been engulfed in the superheated cloud before. The emergency systems could react. According to his instruments, the temperature in that room was now 68 degrees Celsius. The air was filled with toxic vapor that would burn the lungs of most species. "How long before we can get rescue?" "Teams in there?" Captain Vex asked. "At least 20 minutes, Dr. Kess replied, checking his readings. "The atmosphere needs to clear, and the temperature must drop to safe levels. Even with full protective gear, it's too dangerous right now." The ship's medical team arrived with emergency equipment. Stretchers, burn treatment supplies, and life support systems filled the corridor outside the sealed engine room. Everyone prepared for the worst. Slowly, the emergency ventilation systems cleared the vapor from the engine room. The temperature readings began to drop. The toxic gases were filtered out of the air. After 15 minutes, they could see through the observation window again. Captain Vex expected to see 3 bodies on the floor. Instead, he saw Commander Roth calmly examining the broken coolant line. Engineer Tom was holding some kind of portable light, helping Roth see the damage better. Pilot Lisa stood nearby, looking at a small device in her hands. All 3 humans were standing, moving, and apparently unharmed. "Emergency teams, hold position," Captain Vex said into his communicator. He activated the internal communication system. "Commander Roth, can you hear me?" Roth looked up and waved. "We can hear you fine, Captain. Found your problem. This coupling's been overstressed. You're running your coolant pressure too high for these joint specifications." Dr. Kess checked his instruments again. The temperature in the engine room was still 55 degrees Celsius. The atmospheric readings showed trace amounts of chemicals that would be toxic to most known species. Yet the humans were not only conscious but actively working to solve the problem. "How are you not dead?" Dr. Kess whispered. Engineer Tom looked up from the broken pipe. "Dead? From what? It's just a little steam." "Just steam?" Dr. Kess repeated faintly. "Well, hot steam," Tom admitted. "But nothing too serious. Though you might want to get the ventilation back on. It's getting a bit stuffy in here." Captain Vex stood in his private quarters, staring at the report on his desk. The coolant incident had shaken him badly. 3 humans had survived conditions that should have killed them instantly. Dr. Kess had run medical scans on all 3 humans after the incident. The results made no sense. "Their vital signs are completely normal," Dr. Kess had reported. "No burns, no lung damage, no signs of chemical poisoning. It's as if the incident never happened." But Captain Vex was a professional. He had protocols to follow. The Galactic Safety Council required all Deathworld species to complete basic hazard recognition training before being allowed on member vessels. No exceptions. "Dr. Kess," Captain Vex said into his communicator, "prepare the safety training facility. We will conduct the standard evaluation." "Sir, are you sure that's necessary?" Dr. Kess asked. "These humans seem to have natural resistance to hazards." "Protocol is protocol," Captain Vex replied firmly. The Council requires safety certification for all new species. We will follow proper procedures. An hour later, the humans met Dr. Kess at the training facility. The room was large and white, with various chambers and testing areas built into the walls. Sophisticated equipment monitored everything from air quality to radiation levels. "Welcome to our Safety Evaluation Center," Dr. Kess announced. "Today, we will test your ability to recognize and respond to common hazards found aboard galactic vessels." Commander Roth, Engineer Tom, and Pilot Lisa looked around the room with interest. The equipment was impressive, but they seemed more curious than worried. "This looks very thorough," Commander Roth said. "What kind of hazards are we talking about?" "Atmospheric dangers, temperature extremes, electrical hazards, and radiation exposure," Dr. Kess explained. "Standard situations that any crew member might encounter." "Sounds reasonable," Tom said. "Where do we start?" Dr. Kess led them to the first testing chamber. "This room contains various atmospheric conditions. Your task is to use these detection instruments to identify dangerous gas mixtures." He handed each human a sophisticated scanner. The device could detect dozens of different gases and warn of dangerous concentrations. Most species needed extensive training to use the equipment properly. "The chamber contains several different atmospheric zones," Dr. Kess explained. "Some areas are safe, others contain hazardous gases. Use your scanners to identify the dangerous areas." The humans entered the chamber. Dr. Kess watched through the observation window as they spread out to explore different sections. He expected them to move slowly and carefully, checking their instruments constantly. Instead, Pilot Lisa took a deep breath and said, "This section has hydrogen sulfide, probably from organic decay of some kind." She pointed to the far corner. "That area has carbon monoxide, but not enough to worry about unless you plan to take a nap there." Engineer Tom sniffed the air near the left wall. "Elevated carbon dioxide over here. Might give you a headache after an hour or two, but nothing serious." Dr. Kess looked at his master control panel in shock. The humans were identifying gas mixtures by smell alone. Mixtures that required sophisticated sensors from most species to detect. "How did you know?" Dr. Kess asked through the intercom. "No." "What?" Lisa replied. "The gas mixtures. You identified them without using your scanners." Tom looked at the unused device in his hand. "Oh, these things. Well, you can smell most of this stuff if you know what to look for. Hydrogen sulfide smells like rotten eggs. Carbon monoxide doesn't have much smell, but you can usually tell from context. CO2 has a slightly sharp smell when it's concentrated." "You can smell carbon monoxide?" Dr. Kess asked weakly. "Not directly," Tom admitted. "But if you work in mines or industrial areas, you learn to recognize the signs. Changes in air movement, subtle differences in how things smell together." Dr. Kess made notes with shaking hands. No known species could identify atmospheric hazards by smell with such accuracy. Even his own people, who had excellent chemical senses, needed instruments for precise detection. "Let's move to the temperature tolerance test," Dr. Kess said. The second chamber could simulate environmental conditions from across the galaxy. Temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure could be adjusted to match almost any known world. Most species could only tolerate a narrow range of conditions. "We'll start with mild variations," Dr. Kess announced. "Please let me know if you experience any discomfort." He set the temperature to 30 degrees Celsius. Most Altarians would find this uncomfortably warm. The humans didn't seem to notice. "Feels nice," Commander Roth commented. "Like a spring day back home." Dr. Kess increased the temperature to 40 degrees. His own people would need cooling suits at this level. The humans looked completely comfortable. "Still good," Lisa said. "Maybe a little on the cool side." 50 degrees. Dr. Kess was now monitoring the chamber from outside. as the temperature would be dangerous for him. Commander Roth had removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves. "Much better," Roth said. "This is more like summer weather. Comfortable." "Range?" Dr. Kess asked, making frantic notes. "Well, it's a dry heat," Roth replied. "Could go quite a bit higher before we'd really start to notice." Dr. Kess pushed the temperature to 60 degrees Celsius. At this level, most species would suffer heat stroke within minutes. The humans seemed perfectly normal. "How high can this system go?" Tom asked with interest. 85 degrees Celsius maximum, Dr. Kess replied. "Might want to test that," Tom suggested. "Could be useful to know the limits." Dr. Kess decided not to test the system's maximum. He was already having trouble believing his readings. "Let's try cold tolerance," Dr. Kess said. He dropped the temperature to 0 degrees Celsius. Most species would need protective clothing. At this point, the humans put their jackets back on but seemed otherwise unaffected. "Brisk," Lisa commented. "Like winter morning, -10 degrees, -20. At -30 degrees Celsius, Dr. Kess stopped the test. The humans were slightly less comfortable, but still functioning normally. "Remarkable," Dr. Kess muttered. "Let's move to the electrical safety demonstration." The third test chamber contained various electrical hazards, exposed wiring, control panels with dangerous voltages, and emergency repair scenarios. Most species needed extensive training and protective equipment to work safely with electrical systems. This chamber simulates electrical hazards you might encounter during emergency repairs, Dr. Kess explained. "Please examine the various scenarios and identify the safety problems." The humans entered the chamber and immediately began examining the equipment. Engineer Tom approached a control panel that had several obvious electrical faults. "This panel's got problems," Tom announced. "Exposed wiring here, and this circuit breaker is damaged." He reached toward the panel to get a better look. "Stop!" Dr. Kess shouted. "Don't touch that. The voltage levels are extremely dangerous." But Tom had already reached into the panel. He grasped a loose wire to examine the connection point. There was a bright flash and a sharp cracking sound. Tom yelped and jerked his hand back. He shook his fingers and examined his palm. "Ouch," he said. "That's got some bite to it. Probably 1,000 volts leaking through the insulation." Dr. Kess stared at his instruments. The electrical discharge that had just hit Tom should have killed him instantly. According to his readings, the human had just survived a shock that would stop the heart of most known species. "How are you still alive?" Dr. Kess whispered. Tom looked at him with confusion. "Alive? It's just an electrical shock. Hurts a bit, but nothing serious. Though somebody really should service these panels properly." He turned back to examine more of the equipment, completely unconcerned about the potentially lethal hazards. Around him, Dr. Kess sat down heavily in his observation chair. Everything he knew about safety and survival was being turned upside down. These humans weren't just surviving dangerous conditions. They were treating them as minor inconveniences. "Perhaps," Dr. Kess said to himself, "we need to reconsider our safety protocols." Word spread quickly through the ship. By the time Captain Vex led the humans to the recreational deck, half the crew had found reasons to be nearby. They wanted to see these impossible beings from the legendary Deathworld with their own eyes. The recreational deck was the pride of the Harmony's Edge. It featured games and activities from dozens of different worlds, designed to help various species find common ground. The gravity could be adjusted, the atmosphere fine-tuned, and the temperature controlled to suit almost any visitor. "This is our multi-species recreational facility," Captain Vex announced as they entered the large, open space. "We have activities suitable for beings from across the galaxy." The humans looked around with genuine interest. There were floating games that used anti-gravity fields, puzzle areas with holographic displays, and physical challenges that tested strength and coordination. Everything was designed to be safe and accessible for different alien physiologies. Very impressive, Commander Roth said. Much more elaborate than our recreation areas. Communications Officer Zell approached them nervously. She had been watching the humans since they arrived, fascinated by their casual behavior. Perhaps you would like to try some low-impact activities, she suggested. We can adjust the environment to help you acclimate gradually. That sounds great, Pilot Lisa said. What do you recommend? The first area they visited was the gravity simulator. It was set to standard galactic normal, which was roughly 60% of Earth's gravity. Most species found this comfortable and easy to move in. The moment the humans stepped into the gravity field, they began moving strangely. Their steps were too long, their movements too quick. When Lisa tried to walk normally, she accidentally launched herself 3 feet into the air. "Whoa," she said, laughing as she landed. "This is like bouncing on the moon." Tom tried to sit down on a bench and nearly missed it entirely. "Take some getting used to," he said, grinning. Commander Roth attempted a simple walking pace and found himself taking huge floating steps. "This is fun but kind of impractical for normal movement." Captain Vex watched in amazement. The humans were moving like they were underwater or floating in space. Their natural reflexes were completely wrong for normal galactic gravity. "Perhaps we should increase the gravity for your comfort," Captain Vex offered. "Could you?" "Commander," Roth asked hopefully. "This feels like we're trying to walk through air." Captain Vex adjusted the gravity simulator to Earth normal levels. The humans immediately sighed with relief and began moving naturally. The alien crew members, however, suddenly felt much heavier. Zell had to brace herself against a wall as the increased weight pressed down on her. "Much better," Tom said, stretching his arms. "Now this feels normal." Dr. Kess checked his readings and made worried notes. Standard galactic gravity was already higher than most worlds could support. Earth gravity was 50% stronger than that. Yet the humans seemed uncomfortable unless they were carrying this crushing weight. "Let's try some physical activities," Captain Vex suggested. Though he was beginning to worry about his crew's ability to keep up, they moved to an area with various strength and coordination challenges. There were lifting devices, balance tests, and endurance courses designed for different species. Everything was carefully calibrated to provide appropriate challenges without risking injury. Engineer Tom approached a device designed to test lifting strength. It used magnetic resistance that could be adjusted from very light to moderately heavy. The maximum setting was intended to challenge the strongest known species. Tom grasped the handles and lifted easily. "Not much resistance," he commented. Dr. Kess checked the settings. The device was set to medium difficulty, which should have been challenging for most beings. Tom was lifting it like it weighed nothing. "Let me increase the resistance," Dr. Kess said, adjusting the controls to maximum. Tom lifted again, with only slightly more effort. Better, but still pretty light. "What's the maximum weight this thing can simulate?" Dr. Kess consulted his manual frantically. 300 kilograms equivalent resistance. "That's not too bad for light exercise," Tom said. "Back home, our construction crews regularly handle twice that much." Meanwhile, Pilot Lisa was trying the balance and coordination course. It consisted of narrow beams, moving platforms, and obstacles that required precise movement. The course was designed to be challenging but achievable for most species. Lisa completed the entire course in half the expected time, moving with casual confidence across obstacles that usually required careful concentration. She made it look like a children's playground. "This is nicely designed," she said when she finished. "Good for basic coordination practice." Basic practice? Officer Zek, the ship's security chief, had been watching from nearby. He was a large, muscular being with gray skin and 4 powerful arms. "That course is designed to challenge trained athletes," Really? Lisa looked back at the course with surprise. It seemed pretty straightforward. Though I suppose if you're not used to moving in confined spaces, it might be tricky. Officer Zek decided to demonstrate his own skills. He was proud of his physical abilities and had completed the course many times. He moved carefully across the beams, concentrating hard on each step. It took him 4 minutes to finish, which was considered an excellent time. Lisa had completed it in 90 seconds while carrying on a conversation. Impossible, Officer Zek muttered. The real shock came when they reached the endurance testing area. It featured machines that could simulate running, climbing, and sustained physical activity. The equipment was designed to push beings to their limits safely. Commander Roth tried the running simulator. Dr. Kess set it to a moderate pace that most species could maintain for short periods. Roth looked bored after 5 minutes. "This is nice for a warm-up," Roth said. "Can we increase the intensity?" Dr. Kess increased the speed and difficulty. Roth's breathing remained steady and relaxed. After 20 minutes at a pace that would exhaust most beings, he was ready for more. "How long can you maintain this level of activity?" Dr. Kess asked. "Hours, probably," Roth replied. "This is about the same as a casual jog back home." Dr. Kess nearly dropped his instruments. The human was exercising at a level that would challenge elite athletes from most species, and he considered it casual activity. Officer Zek had been growing more frustrated as he watched the humans easily surpass every challenge. Finally, he approached Commander Roth directly. "These exercises are too simple for you," Zek said. "Perhaps you would be interested in trying our combat training simulator." "Combat training?" Roth looked interested. "What kind of training?" "Physical. Combat scenarios," Zek explained. "Testing reaction time, tactical thinking, and ability to handle threatening situations." "It's quite challenging," Dr. Kess tried to interrupt. "Officer Zek, that system wasn't designed for untrained civilians." "We'd be happy to try it," Commander Roth said. "Sounds educational." Officer Zek led them to a specialized training chamber. Inside, holographic opponents could be generated to provide combat scenarios. The system could adjust difficulty from basic self-defense training to advanced military exercises. "We'll start with the basic program," Officer Zek said, secretly, setting the controls higher than he claimed. He wanted to see these humans finally struggle with something. Pilot Lisa entered the chamber first. Multiple holographic attackers appeared, moving in coordinated patterns designed to overwhelm and confuse. The simulation was actually set to intermediate military level, far above basic training. Lisa moved through the attackers like she was dancing. She avoided their attacks easily, countered with precise movements, and completed the scenario in record time. When she emerged from the chamber, she looked disappointed. "That's it?" she asked. The opponents barely moved, and their attacks were so slow. "Back home, our basic training uses live ammunition and much faster opponents." Officer Zek stared at his control panel in disbelief. The simulation had been running at a level that challenged experienced space marines. Lisa had treated it like a gentle exercise. Captain Vex sat alone in his office, staring at the most unusual report he had ever written. The document on his screen was only 3 paragraphs long, but each word had been carefully chosen. He had been writing first contact reports for 15 years, and none had ever been this simple. Species, Human Sol 3 classification. Deathworlder, extreme safety requirements. None special handling. Standard safety protocols may be insulting. To this species, recommendation. Immediate full membership. He read it again, then deleted the last line and rewrote it. Then he deleted it again and put it back. The recommendation seemed impossible, but the evidence was overwhelming. Dr. Kess knocked on the door and entered without waiting for permission. His forearms carried multiple data tablets, all filled with readings and observations from the past 2 days. "Captain," Dr. Kess said, "I've completed my analysis of the human delegation." "What did you find?" Captain Vex asked, though he suspected he already knew. "Nothing," Dr. Kess replied. "Medically speaking, they show no signs of stress, injury, or discomfort from any of the conditions they've experienced. Their vital signs remain normal under circumstances that would kill most known species." Captain Vex nodded slowly. "What's your professional recommendation? Honestly, I think we should ask them to join our emergency response teams. They're the most naturally qualified rescue personnel I've ever encountered." A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Captain Vex activated his communication system and found himself looking at the stern face of Admiral Crix, head of the Galactic Safety Council. "Captain Vex," Admiral Crix said, "I've received your preliminary report about the human species. Please explain why you're recommending immediate full membership for a Deathworld species." Captain Vex had been dreading this conversation. Admiral Crix was known for his strict adherence to protocol and his deep suspicion of anything unusual. "Admiral, these humans don't fit our normal categories," Captain Vex began. "They've survived every hazard we've tested without any sign of distress." "Impossible," Admiral Crix said flatly. "No species evolves that level of resistance to environmental dangers. Sir, with respect, I've documented everything. The humans walked through a superheated coolant leak that should have killed them instantly. They identified toxic gases by smell alone. They survived electrical shocks that would stop the hearts of most beings." Admiral Crix's expression grew more skeptical. "Captain, are you suggesting that these primitives are somehow superior to civilized species?" "Not superior, sir. Just different, adapted to conditions we can barely survive with full protective equipment." "Prove it," Admiral Crix said. "I'm sending Inspector General Thorne to review your findings. He'll conduct his own evaluation." The transmission ended. Captain Vex felt a sinking sensation in his stomach. Inspector General Thorne was famous for his rigid interpretation of safety regulations. If anyone would reject the humans, it would be him. 3 hours later, Inspector General Thorne arrived aboard the Harmony's Edge. He was a tall, thin being from the Rigel system, with silver skin and 6 eyes that missed nothing. He wore a perfectly pressed uniform covered with safety certifications and regulatory badges. "Captain Vex," Inspector Thorne said coldly, "I understand you've made some highly irregular recommendations regarding these Deathworld specimens." "Sir, I believe the humans represent a unique case," Captain Vex replied. "There are no unique cases in safety protocol," Inspector Thorne said. "There are only proper procedures and dangerous deviations. Where are these humans now?" "In the engineering section, sir. They volunteered to help with some repairs." Inspector Thorne's 6 eyes widened in alarm. "You allowed untrained aliens into your engineering section?" "Sir, Engineer Tom identified several maintenance issues that our own crew had missed. He's actually improving our systems." Inspector Thorne marched toward the engineering section with Captain Vex hurrying behind. They found Tom working inside an access panel that no Altarian could fit into, rewiring circuits with his bare hands. "What is the meaning of this?" Inspector Thorne demanded. Tom looked up from his work. "Oh, hello. Just fixing this power coupling. It's been running hot for months, but nobody could reach it properly." He held up a damaged component. "See, the insulation was completely worn through." Inspector Thorne examined his instruments frantically. "That circuit carries 4,000 volts. How are you touching it without protective equipment?" 4,000? Tom looked at the wires in his hands. "That's not too bad. Back home, we work with industrial systems that run much higher voltage than this." "This is madness, Inspector," Thorne muttered. "Complete disregard for basic safety principles." Commander Roth and pilot Lisa appeared, returning from their own exploration of the ship. They had been mapping the vessel's systems and suggesting improvements to the navigation equipment. "Inspector Thorne," Captain Vex said, "these are the other members of the human delegation." Inspector Thorne activated his official recording device. "I am Inspector General Thorne of the Galactic Safety Council. You are in violation of 17 different safety protocols. Please explain your actions." Commander Roth looked confused. "Violations? We've just been trying to help. Your crew has been very kind to us. You've exposed yourselves to lethal environmental conditions, operated dangerous equipment without training, and completely ignored standard safety procedures," Inspector Thorne said. "We appreciate your concern," Pilot Lisa said politely, "but we're really fine. These conditions aren't dangerous." "For us, not dangerous?" Inspector Thorne's voice rose. "You've survived atmospheric poisoning, thermal extremes, electrical exposure, and physical stresses that would kill trained professionals." Engineer Tom emerged from the access panel, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Killed? That seems a bit extreme. I mean, it was just basic maintenance work." Inspector Thorne stared at Tom for a long moment. Then he turned to Captain Vex. "I need to speak with you privately." They walked to a quiet corner of the engineering section. Inspector Thorne's 6 eyes darted nervously between his instruments and the humans. "Captain," Inspector Thorne said quietly, "either your equipment is completely malfunctioning, or these beings are unlike anything in our databases." "My equipment is functioning perfectly, sir." Inspector Thorne was quiet for several minutes, watching Tom work on another repair project. The human was casually handling components that required specialized tools and protective gear for most species. "This changes everything," Inspector Thorne said finally. "Our entire safety framework is based on the assumption that certain conditions are universally dangerous. What do you recommend, sir?" Inspector Thorne made several notes on his official report. "I recommend immediate reclassification. These humans don't need our safety protocols. If anything, they could help us improve our emergency procedures." He paused, watching Lisa examine a control panel that had been marked as hazardous due to electromagnetic radiation. "Captain, I want you to send a message to the Galactic Safety Council immediately. New classification. Species human requires. Reverse safety protocols. Standard galactic conditions may be uncomfortably mild for this species. Do not offer protective equipment unless specifically requested. Reverse safety protocols, sir. Warning other species about the humans, not warning the humans about us," Inspector Thorne explained. "These beings could accidentally hurt someone just by trying to help." As if to prove his point, Tom called out from across the room, "Captain, I found another problem. This support beam has stress fractures. You'll want to replace it before it fails." Tom was pointing to a structural beam that supported part of the ship's framework. He had discovered the fractures by simply pressing on the beam with his hands. The metal, which was designed to withstand enormous pressures, had bent slightly under his casual touch. "Dear stars," Inspector Thorne whispered, "what kind of world produces beings like this?" Captain Vex looked at the humans, who were continuing their helpful exploration of his ship. They seemed so normal, so friendly. It was hard to believe they were casually demonstrating abilities that defied everything he understood about biology and physics. "A world that makes them very good friends to have," Captain Vex said.